Anyway,
But you know what? I wanted to get into, and I know we have other articles, but I'm just going to get
okay,
into this real quick
all right,
because I wanted to pick your brain on this on Monday, but we didn't really get into it. Is the
all right.
idea that, like, if you look at the Civil War, right? You could say the Confederacy was more right wing than left wing. They were pro freedom. They were anti tariff.
Mm-hmm.
Like they fit the mold of the right wing. Their desire was to be left alone, and they
Right,
fought for the right to be left alone. They didn't want to push their values on anyone else. They just
right.
wanted other people to fuck off, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the left are the exact opposite. Like when you look at Cortez and Biden and Harris, they'll openly say, like, fuck this minority. How dare they think they have an opinion? Like, we're going to force them to live
Right.
our way.
Well, look at Sherman's march. So the South never invaded the North and burned their cities down. They never went and like murdered people. Like they fought battles.
Dude,
And the thing, no,
there
well,
was an order in Louisiana that a general had given, a northern general, that all women were to be considered prostitutes because they weren't nice to the soldiers when they came in, so they were allowed to be war raped.
my my point is though. So you had uh, early on in the Civil War, the South was winning battles. Like the North was getting their ass kicked. So they realized the only way to win the war was to become ruthless, and that's why they did Sherman's March and started burning these farms and burning these communities down. But the South never did that. The South never went into the North and took the war to them because they just wanted to be left alone. So they were fighting like a defensive war. And then the North came in and like burned all their farms down and destroyed their. Now they could be like, well, this is legitimate because these farms were feeding the enemy. But like, yeah, but your farms are feeding your army. Like, how would you feel if the South invaded the North, started burning northern farms and murdering and raping people? But
That
that's not.
and even back then, that was considered a major war crime. Like nobody looked at it that way.
Well, that's
When they were fighting wars.
so. The thing here's the thing, and this is like Machiavelli 101. So the South, they fired the first shot at Fort Sumter. But they presumed that once they had the weapons, they had the army, they had the generals in place, that the North would like see the writing on the wall and leave them alone.
Well,
And then
that's because
when,
Lincoln did what FDR did. The North goaded the South into the fight.
but,
They
but
just, the founding fathers did that with the British.
my point is though, is the South they were fighting basically, they were reacting to. They want to be left alone. The North said, no, you can't leave. And then they fought some battles, but they never went total war on the North. They never
No.
like invaded. They never pushed into the northern border and started burning cities and killing people. But they did win several early battles. Several of the earlier battles, the South won, and the North was actually realizing they might lose the war, and so they went fucking ruthless on the South and started burning their farms down, going in there and cutting a bloody line to the sea to break the spirit of the South. And it
They did.
worked. A lot of these soldiers, when they found out that their city was burned and their family was destitute, they abandoned their post and ran home to go save their family. And they're the good guys because history is written by the winners. But like, so Machiavelli, his what he would have told the South to do is push hard and fast, like end the war quickly. You basically say, look, we're leaving. And when the North is like, you can't leave, you just fucking invade and fucking execute the entirety of the politicians, like go in, invade DC, kill everyone, burn it down, and say, let me repeat myself. You may not have heard me the first time. We're leaving. And then, like, just let them know, like, we're not fucking around. But they didn't. They basically fought defensive reactionary engagements. And even though they won them, because they didn't fight, they didn't like push the fight to the North was able to basically rearm, retool, come back, push back twice as hard, and get more ruthless over time until they eventually decided to say, fuck it, let's just burn their farms down. And then they finally defeated the South that way.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a really big example in modern history where someone tried that and it didn't work. It didn't work really bad. The Japanese, when they invaded Pearl Harbor, their entire strategy was they were going to hit Pearl Harbor and take it to the Americans everywhere in the Pacific because they wouldn't have a Pacific fleet to defend, like the Philippines and all the area, Midway, all those places.
Mm-hmm.
But Yamamoto said straight up from the beginning, if we don't win in 6 months, we have to get them to sue for peace within 6 months. If not, their manufacturing power will overpower us and they will crush us. And he was dead right. And the North was in a very similar position in terms of manufacturing.
Well, I mean, so that's true. But like, so if they, but like the DC was right there on the border. They could have
Maryland
came in there.
was a southern state.
Right. They could have invaded DC, destroyed it, and a lot of the Northern Army would have been sent to defend DC. So they could have, if they, and they, again, they won those early engagements. Had they won those early engagements, they could have taken out most of the Northern Army and then burned DC to the ground, killed everyone, the Congress, the Senate, Lincoln, they would have been all dead. Then you fucking go in, then you could have just pushed through, destroyed their manufacturing, destroyed like all their whatever, until they basically surrendered and said, okay, we'll leave you alone. And then you say, okay, good. I'm glad we had an understanding. Or they just say, you know what, we're not, and instead, you know, we thought about it. Instead of us leaving, why don't we just become the new government since we just conquered you? Kind of like what the North did, except in reverse. So the United States of America simply becomes the Confederate States of America. But the Union is maintained. Hallelujah. But unfortunately, just like today,
the South wanted to be left alone. They didn't want to conquer the North. The North wanted to conquer the South.
Right. So the South was doing what the right has been doing forever, which is, you know, my principles. We're not going to sink down to that level. We're going to fight the good fight. And they believed God was on their side. They were devout Christians. They thought, like, you know, God would give them victory. And when they did win the early engagements, they thought this was like divine providence, and they wouldn't have wanted to go in and like burn factories down and harm innocent civilians because they didn't care about that. They weren't trying to conquer anyone. But yeah, Machiavelli would have tried to speak sense to them, but they probably wouldn't have lived. And the same thing, the modern day right, they're not trying to go total war on the left. The left, when the left wins, they're going to kill the right. They're going to round them up and kill them. Look at every single communist revolution that's ever occurred. They're going to take your guns away. They're going to round you up and kill you, and they're going to starve your family and rape your wife and children. That's what they do. They've told you that. They've said it. They've openly admitted that's what they're going to do. They're going to pack the court. They're going to do every dirty trick that you refuse to do to win. And when they do it, you won't be able to stop them, and you'll lose. And all these people are going to die because of your cowardice and because of your inability to rise to the challenge and do what had to be done. And your response will be, well, my principles, and, you know, even if everyone dies and the country collapses and we're communists now and I'm about to be executed behind a gulag, you know, at least we stayed true to our principles, right? Right, fellas? Right? We stay true. That's more important than life and liberty, is that we stayed true to our principles as we lost and were enslaved. And the answer is no. Fuck these goddamn Kantian Kantian philosophy, this categorical imperative bullshit where it's okay to get everyone killed as long as you stay true to your principles. That's wrong. Your morals and your principles are there to promote your values and the survival of your society. If your society gets conquered and everyone's dead or enslaved, and it's due to your principles and your morals, then your morals and principles are shit. If they don't promote your society and the values of your society, then you're wrong. Your principles are wrong. Your morals are wrong. I'm totally fine with leaving people alone. I have a strict don't start none, won't be none policy. But if you start them, I will fuck your shit up so bad. Like, if I was the emperor, if I was like fucking president of the Confederacy, I would have fucking gone, like, the only moral way to fight a war is to end it quickly. And like blitzkrieg their asses, kill everyone, make them surrender quickly, and then then the war's over. Like, having a war drag out for years and years, because then as the war drags on, you got to go back, you got to go recruit more soldiers, you got to send more men to die. If you end it quickly, it's over. And then all these people who would have been drafted or conscripted are now alive. They can go back to what they were doing. The war happened so quickly they didn't even know. That's the moral way to fight a war. And like Machiavelli would tell you, be ruthless, but make it quick. Be as ruthless as you need to be, but get it all done as quickly as possible. Because
people ask me all the time about Israel and Palestine and why this war has gone on forever. And I say, because the world won't let one side win. When a war ends quickly, the winner dictates the terms to the losers, and that's usually it. But when you keep people in low-level conflict, like Iraq is the same thing, Afghanistan is the same thing. There's no decisive victory where the other side accepts defeat. And then what you wind up with is in a slow bleeding conflict where both sides just bleed until one side gets tired of bleeding.
Yeah. And again, this is considered the moral way. And we have a really fucked up moral system. We have fucked up principles, and that's why we lose. That's why freedom and liberty are on the decline. That's why the left wins. That's why we can't have nice things. The right aren't just pussies. They're arrogantly smug about it. They think that them being giant pussies makes them better than you.